The Z6 II introduces the new EN-EL15C battery compared to the B battery in the Z6 original. So I wanted to check how much longer the C will go for compared to the B. And then I put the B battery in the Z6 II and the C battery in the Z6 I, just to compare for how much longer or shorter these batteries will last. And as a time-lapse photographer, I thought that the best way to test longevity of a battery while shooting RAW files was to shoot long exposures in time-lapse mode, and for this purpose I decided to set the two cameras shooting with manual lenses so that the lens wouldn't be affecting any power issue. So it was shooting through the FTZ adapter and two manual old Nikon lenses. The settings were both exactly the same on both cameras, shooting the same shutter, same ISO. Stabilization was turned off. They were both shooting the same uncompressed RAW file at same intervals with no autofocus on, because obviously it's a manual lens. Basically everything perfectly exactly the same. They were both shooting the clock on the iPad to see how long they would last. And what is really interesting, I took down the notes of how each battery performed in each body, and they are quite surprising. These results actually aren't quite straightforward. The C battery isn't just better as you would imagine than the B battery. In kind of it is, but in different circumstances it actually isn't. And you may wonder, why did I bother doing this kind of a boring test, in my personal opinion? Well, when I had the Z6 II on loan from Nikon UK, London was in tier 4, and now we're actually, when I'm filming this, we're in lockdown. So I was just like thinking, hey, why not? Let's shoot this test, because some people on the Nikon Facebook group said that, yeah, they'll be interested in actually hearing the test results. So what I did was I set these two cameras shooting a clock on an iPad just to actually get the RAW files and speed up the video to show you that they were shooting for such and such long time. And then I took the numbers of RAW images that each camera captured in each sort of setting with the kind of a battery it was using. So as I tested the Z6 II with the C battery in daytime and shot over 5,000 RAW files on a single battery, and it still had 2 bars, but that was when I was shooting 1 second interval and 0.6 second shutter. And it is mind-blowing that it can save over 5,000 RAW files onto a 256 gigabyte SD card on a single battery and still have like 2 bars it had left. So for this test, I decided to do 25-second exposures every 30 seconds. So the 30 seconds was the interval. Hence it left 5 seconds in between for each camera to save the RAW file, wait a bit, and then start the next shot. And this is the result that I got. The Z6 in this setting with the B battery produced 791 images before it died. While next to it, the Z6 II with the C battery got 708, which is actually quite surprising that it got 10% less images than the Z6 I with the B battery. Not to mention actually the fact that I did check the age of my batteries and it still says 0, but I've been using these batteries for 2 years on doing time lapses, yet it still got 10% more than Z6 II, which kind of means that Z6 II is drawing more power, and even though the C battery claims to be more efficient, the two combined means that it actually still will get you less images than Z6 with the B battery, especially if it was a brand new battery, probably would get you even more. So that was quite a surprising result, that the Z6 II actually draws more power while in this mode. So I decided to switch the batteries. I put the C in the Z6 and the B into the Z6 II. And here's what actually isn't a big surprise. The C battery in Z6 produced 845 images, while the B battery in Z6 II only 548. And that is kind of where you see the difference. The C battery in Z6 gave an improvement of 7%, while the B battery in Z6 II dropped the performance by 31%. And then I decided to do a second test with a longer interval 30-second shutter and just a half a minute of like idle time to see what really happens, and that was quite surprising. Z6 with the original B battery produced only 277 images, was running for 3 hours and 45 minutes, which kind of means that it's actually less than half of the images it did in the previous test that I've done, where there was only 5 seconds waiting time. So it kind of suggests that when the Z6 is idle, it actually draws more power than when creating a long exposure photo. It's a bit weird. While the Z6 II with C battery produced 349 raw images and worked for 5 hours, which is a 26% improvement over the original Z6 with the B battery, which suggests that the Z6 II draws less power when it's idle. When the camera isn't taking the photos, it's drawing less power, because 349 is just under 50% of 708, where 25-second exposures and only 5-second gap between the next interval started on a 30-second interval produced 708. So yeah, it's quite interesting that in the first test, the Z6 II with the C battery was 10% worse than Z6 original with B battery, while in the second test, where there was more idle time, it actually performed 26% better than the Z6 one with the B battery. Definitely an interesting result, and kind of shows that if you got a Z6 original, the one, and you're after a new battery, you might as well buy the C battery and not the B battery, because they are much better. And from what I see online, they seem to be the exact same price of £60 here in the UK. So to summarize, what did this test prove? Well, if you have a Z6, you might as well get the C batteries, but if you have a Z6 II, definitely do not get the B batteries, because there will be a significant difference how long one battery will last you. And even though I did test that, even having B batteries in the Z6 II allows you to charge them via USB-C and operate the camera just based on the B battery inside the Z6 II and continuous power provided from the USB power bank. Once you disconnect it or your power bank dries, you might as well have C batteries than B batteries. So even though you can find probably used or cheaper EN-EL15B compared to C somewhere on eBay or whatever, Amazon maybe at some point, the difference and how much power Z6 II draws that it needs, the much stronger battery, is quite huge between the B and C, specifically in the Z6 II. So yeah, if you got a Z6 II, definitely stock up on some extra C batteries, don't buy the B batteries. And if you're a Z6 owner, yes, buying spare batteries, I would recommend you to buy the C batteries. But if you need to shoot a long-term time-lapse, at the moment for Z6, still the MB-N10 dual battery pack is the best solution, while on the Z6 II, you can just bring a battery bank and charge the camera via USB-C and power it continuously. Thanks a lot for watching. Hopefully this video was helpful to you. My name is Michael Thomas. I'm a London-based time-lapse travel and architecture photographer. And as we are now in lockdown, I will aim to release more of these kind of videos where I either review a product, a technique I use for time-lapses on professional bodies, or even on a mobile phone during the next 30 days of lockdown, and I do hope that that will be it after and the world will come back to normal, but most likely not. So this is my short-term new studio setup where I edit all my work, and you might see some more videos from this setup in the near future. Until the next video, see you later guys. Remember to like, comment and subscribe.